Sitting up straight, eyes on me. Ready to go? Dominic, all fours on the ground. Thank you. All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, our learning goal this morning for writing is that students will be able to explain the difference between editing and revising. I'm going to read that one more time. You're going to have to repeat it after me when I'm done. Students are going to be able to explain the difference between editing and revising. It is your turn now. Ready? 1, 2, and 3.
Students will be able to explain the difference between editing and revising.
When I use that word explain, that means that your job is going to be able to tell me in your words, using what we're about to learn, what do those two things mean? How are they the same? How are they different? Okay? In order to do that, you need to be listening. All right, so when we think about editing and revising in our writing process, we are going to start with revising. Revising is when we're going to be adding to and taking away things in our writing to make it better. I'll say that one more time. Revising is when we are adding to our writing. We are maybe changing our writing, maybe taking things away from our writing to make it better. That is revising. When we think about editing, editing is when we use the rules of language to improve our writing. That's just using rules. That's it. Okay? So I wanted to use an acronym that we've used in the past to maybe give us an idea of what does she mean when we're saying changing our writing. What does she mean when she says we're using the rules of language to work with our writing? We have two acronyms that maybe my 5th and 6th graders remember. But for editing, we use the acronym of CUPS. When we think about editing, we are just thinking about the rules of language. There's not a whole lot of creativity with this one. It's the rules of language. So, rules of language, I have capitalization. If I have maybe a name, I use uppercase letters, capital letters. If I have the beginning of a sentence, that's one of our non-negotiables. It needs to be a capital letter, uppercase letter. You is making sure that your verb matches your noun. So if it is a verb where it's just, if it's a noun which is one person, that verb has to match that it's just one person. So let's see, we is my noun, we, okay? We, what would make sense with we? We were running.
We caught.
Okay? What wouldn't make sense with we?
We ran. We bottled. Wait, no. We ran.
Did anyone have one? They were like, whoa, that didn't work. Yeah? We is running. That sound right? We be running. We is running. Does that work with we? It doesn't work. That's what I mean when I say usage. Is that being creative or is that just the rules of the language? Just rules. I have punctuation. Oh, our brains are off running now. We're done with running. Our focus really never was on running. It was on the verb and the noun matching, right? We're on punctuation now. Punctuation, maybe it's quotation marks around dialogue, maybe it's end punctuation, maybe it's an apostrophe. Again, just rules. We need to know those rules. And S is for spelling. Okay? All all about rules. Kelly? Next one we have is revising. Revising is when we are making our writing better by adding, removing, changing things.
All sorts of things. Arms.
We have the acronym ARMS. For revising, I might be adding. Maybe I'm adding a sentence. Maybe I'm adding a word. Maybe I'm adding figurative language. I'm adding something in that I'm thinking, this is going to make my writing better. R is for removing. Maybe when I'm rereading to revise, I see that this doesn't quite make sense, and I'm going to take it out completely. I don't feel like it's helping my reader. I'm going to remove it. M is I'm going to move it. Again, maybe I'm reading a sentence and I feel like, I don't think this sentence belongs right here with this paragraph. I think it actually goes better when I'm talking about the big thing that happened, and I'm going to move it to be with the big thing that happened. It really wasn't what happened before the big thing that happened. It's the big thing that happened. So I need to move it. And then S is for substituting? You know I was going to do that. I knew I was going to forget one of it. Is it substitution? Double check. Substitute. You guys are right. Good job. I knew there was a good chance I was going to forget one of them. So with that one, it's if maybe I use the word said. I had some dialogue, which is awesome. And then I said the girl. Is said a really strong word? Does it really show you how that person was using their words? Kind of boring, especially if it's happening over and over and over again. I could substitute the word said with yelled, screamed, cried, sobbed. Does that show you a lot more detail about how that person is using their words? That is using substitution to help revise my writing. Okay? These are some examples of what you might see when you're editing, using the rules of the language, and when you're revising, adding, moving, changing your writing to make it better. Okay? What I want you to do in a second when I release you is with a partner, when you turn and talk, on your TP, you have a chart. Don't open your notebook, just look up here. In your notebook, if you got a chance to glue it in, otherwise you can still write on it, right? You're okay. You have a list of 20 different techniques or actions that a writer might be taking to either edit or revise their writing. Your job with your partner is to think, is this an example of using rules to edit my writing? Or is it an example of using revision to change, add, move, to make my writing better? Your job is to write the number. You can kind of see from afar. Did I write the sentence or the phrase? Or did I just write a number? Just numbers, right? I don't want you to write out neat handwriting. I don't want you to write that. Just write 6. How much longer is that going to take if you're writing all the words?
3 seconds.
So much longer, you guys. Just write the number. Write it under revising if you think it's revising. Write it under editing if you think it's editing. If you read it and you're like, I have no idea what that is. Like can't even think about that one because I've never heard that before. Skip it. It's totally fine. Okay? Questions on the expectation of this activity? Okay, I'm gonna just give you 3 minutes to sort through these. Whatever you finish in 3 minutes, awesome. As long as you're on task right now. Turn knee to knee, eye to eye with someone nearby and begin that process. Go ahead and go.